GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to GALP. It's your host once again, Bish. I'm glad to be back. Today we're going to go straight into it and talk about DOA 6 Last Round, the definitive version of Dead or Alive 6, originally released in 2019. So this game just got released. We didn't get review code for it, unfortunately, but was there really a need to get review code? And I'll get into that in a moment. I want to thank our sponsors as well as you guys for following the show, for sharing the show on Spotify, and for following us on X. So thank you very, very much. So DOA 6 Last Round is basically nothing new. We tend to see this a lot, at least in more recent DOA games. DOA 5 got Last Round, it got Ultimate as well. That was a very popular game. Koei seems to do this whole Last Round thing in an attempt to kind of bundle the game, give you some DLC, maybe include some visual elements, improvements and things like that. However, this time Koei didn't decide to do that. Remember the last time we got Last Round for DOA 5, we had Ultimate before that, and it was a very different sort of experience in the sense that the game was already ongoing, it had constant support, there was a lot of updates. DOA 6 came out literally right before COVID. It was very unfortunate because literally came out right before COVID. No one was doing tournaments for the game because of COVID and the lockdowns and whatnot. So it had a very unfortunate release. It's not something that Koei could have foreseen or anything like that. But the game wasn't that good anyway. It had some very, very poor performance on the PS4, and I remember getting this game, and bear in mind I don't have a PS4 Pro, I just had a standard PS4. I didn't even have a PS4 Slim at the time, and it was just horrible. I did then play the game on the PS5, so I thought, you know what, let me just download it on the PS5. It wasn't that much better, and I really don't understand the need to re-release this game because it's already backwards compatible. Koei easily could have done like a patch and says, hey, guess what, you get a free PS5 upgrade, and they could have done that closer to the time when the PS5 released, because the PS5 I think released a year after, or PS5 released during COVID, so we could have updated the game as many other devs and publishers did. We saw that with Warner Brothers and Mortal Kombat. I believe we also seen it with Street Fighter and Tekken and things like that. So all the other fighting games doing it, all the other developers at the time were doing free upgrades as well. I know Ubisoft was doing that, and Koei was even doing that as well. So it just felt a bit weird that for this game, they waited so long to give it to us. And in the end, it's the exact same game. There is no difference between DOA 6 and DOA 6 Last Round. Actually, there is differences, and I will mention that, but not really good differences or differences that anyone cares. There is a new lighting engine, which no one really cares about, to be fair. I saw the visual differences between the two, between the PS5, the PS4, and then the PS5 with this new lighting engine, and it looked worse. The lighting engine is supposed to, be for water and effects like that, and you know what? It didn't look good. So I would kind of turn that off. It is interesting. The game does have core fighters as well. So if you download core fighters, I believe you get a Kasumi, Nico, Mary Rose, and Honoka at launch in core fighters. Core fighters is the free-to-play version game, which we've seen as well with DOA 5, and then you buy DLC characters as needed. One thing that I'm going to mention I have seen on Korean Twitter and also Japanese Twitter is that for Last Round, they've actually doubled the price of the characters. So before, the characters, I believe, were like, I don't know how many yen exactly, but I believe they were, in Korean won, it was 5,000 won for each character. And it's now bumped up to 10,000 won. So that's effectively doubling the price. They did the same in Japan. They did the same in Europe. And I don't like that. You want people to play your game, Koei. And there's a lot of greed that's going on with DOA. And it's always been an issue with DOA, right? And I kind of felt this way since I saw it at the reveal at the Xbox showcase at the beginning of the year. We had like a tribute to Itagaki-san. And I had a feeling Koei would do this because they saw the sales increase for DOA 5, possibly also for DOA 4, and the Itagaki series of the Dead or Alive games on the Xbox, especially with backwards compatibility activity on the Xbox series of consoles. They probably saw the, boost, and they saw how many players were increasing during Itagaki's passing and obviously the revival of Ninja Gaiden. And they were like, oh, let's do something with this. And obviously they revealed a new DOA project that they're working on. They didn't even say it was DOA 7 or not. And obviously they're giving us DOA 6 to kind of hold us out on it. This game is pretty much a cash grab. Koei has not taken the right way forward with it, and it is unfortunate. Stuff like tickets remain, which I absolutely hate. The ticket system, which allows you to change hair colors and costumes, it's basically different way of monetization, and I absolutely hate it. Like, let's just buy DLC. Why do I have to buy a ticket to buy DLC? It's weird, but I guess they do that to kind of keep prices high, if that makes sense. Like, if you're selling something on the PlayStation Store like DLCs, right, you have to keep the prices down at one point. There'll be sales and whatnot, but if you're using it to sell an in-game currency, then you set those prices and you set that in-game currency, right? It's very odd, but I understand the logic behind it because other games have done that in the past as well. Senran Kagura has done it, and obviously now DOA has done it, but in a worse way because Koei is such a big company. We mentioned it. It also mentions in the press release, which, by the way, to give you guys context, we have not received any press releases for this game since its announcement up until the release date. Now, that worries me because the last game that Koei did this with was Dynasty Warriors 9. And when Koei does that, it makes you think that, are they ashamed of this game? There is something that they don't want to talk about here. They don't want to draw attention to it. And so they just slip it past the rug or hide it under the rug effectively. So there are things, the Oboro lighting system, which enables more realistic illumination, and it's there from the Katana engine. I don't know if you guys remember the Katana engine. I believe that engine was created or was used for Dynasty Warriors 9. So Dynasty Warriors 9, a game series that not many people like and not many people enjoyed. I guess Koei wanted to get their money's worth, and they were like, oh yeah, let's just slap DOA with the Katana engine. There are other games that use the Katana engine as well. I believe Fire Emblem was using it at one point, but that's besides the point. I'm not here to hate on the Katana engine. It's a decent engine. I believe Origins was running on Katana engine as well. So, I do like the Katana engine, guys. All right. But yeah, there's a new photo mode. There's features and new poses. And it says here, online modes, DOA Quest and DOA Central will be accessible at launch. Why is that in a press release? That's something that we expect to be at launch, right? There's so many things that are not in the game. There is no tag mode. There's no rollback. People have been wanting for rollback. People have been begging for it. They've been gagging for it, and it's not there. And I understand why it's not there. Koei's not going to invest in something like rollback when the new DOA game is right around the corner, which I have a feeling the new DOA game is going to come out in 1 to 2 years, right? One thing as well that I'm not a fan of, and I feel like every part of this episode is going to be me saying I'm not a fan of DOA 6. I understand that a lot of effort has gone into this game. The devs have worked very hard. It's always kind of a bit of a weird one when Koei is the publisher, because in some essence, right, they're very lenient with some games in terms of DLC practices, and in other games they will milk the hell out of DLC. And that's obviously what they did with DOA 6 last round, especially with their DLC cast. So there is a new DLC character who I believe is called Minato. I can't remember the name of the DLC character, but it's assuming it's going to be like a high school kid. I'd imagine. Looking at the costume, it's like a school costume, which is a bit weird, but there's also save data carrying over. Save data can also be carried over for DLC costumes, unlocked items, and more. Popular characters such as Kasumi, Mari Rose, Ayane, Nico, and Honoka will receive exclusive costumes inspired by other Team Ninja titles, such as Ninja Gaiden 3's Razor Edge and Dead or Alive Extreme Venus Vacation. Why is it Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge? I think probably because they can't use anything from Ninja Gaiden 4, because Koei didn't really publish that game. It was Microsoft, so I think that's probably why they had to use the previous Ninja Gaiden game. And also Venus Vacation, a game that has not been released in the West and is still being featured in all the press releases. Koei, why are we talking about this? Why are you even giving us stuff from Venus Vacation? Part of me thinks that it's there, like this game is there to promote Venus Vacation, which is a bit of a weird one because Venus Vacation also runs on the Katana engine, by the way. But it is available in English, but you can't play it unless you import from Japan. I imported my copy from Korea when I was in Korea, and it was great, and I got some DLC for it as well. I still haven't played that game, and I might give you guys my thoughts when I actually finally get the chance to, almost a year later. But here's the point. Venus Vacation and that whole DOA Paradise games, Koei are just referencing it too much. And I think it's like, just give us the game, Koei. I think maybe that way you can distance yourself from it, because at the moment it feels like you're integrating this stuff from Venus Vacation into mainline DOA so that you can attract the Venus Vacation players. And that's just, feels kind of gross to me. I'll be honest with you. Speaking of gross, we've got bonus DLC characters. Yeah. The characters that were originally DLC characters for this game, so Neo, Tengu, Phase 4, Momiji, Rachel, and Tamaki, also a character from Venus Vacation, are going to be included in this game as, well, they're in the main game. They're not as DLC characters. And guess what? Mai Shiranui and Kula Diamond from SNK fighting game King of Fighters are also included as collab DLCs alongside a costume set comprised of 5 stylish outfits. And guess what? If you bought the Mai Shiranui and Kula Diamond DLC from DOA 6 and also the DLC costumes, they do not transfer over. So yeah, you have to buy these characters again. And if you main those characters, well, unfortunately, you have to buy them again. And that sucks, because with those characters, I finally got to unlock, you know, the get ready fight, and I unlocked it with Mai and I unlocked it with Kula, and I can't use them anymore unless I buy the DLC, which is very interesting. So that sucks. It feels like Koei's been taking away things just to give them back to us. Like it's almost like they're breaking down the game to give us like little bits and pieces. And they delisted base DOA 6 from the Steam store because of DOA 6 last round. I've never seen that happen before, but it's there to sort of get people to play it more. And Koei got ratioed this morning. I don't know if it's still the case, but I woke up and I saw the tweet where Koei is announcing the game, and literally someone quote retweeted it and was like, here's the torrent for base DOA 6 with all the DLCs, because it's basically the same game. And that got more retweets and more likes than the actual trailer announcing the game's release, which if I was at Koei, I would really take a look at myself internally and think, what are we doing with our DLC policies? Because it seems like they're so greedy with DOA. I don't understand why. Other games are sort of toned down a bit more. I know back in the day with Dynasty Warriors, when they started to introduce DLC with 7 and 8, you know, and all those spin-off costumes, but they were like costumes, right? You weren't getting DLC characters. I think you did in 9. But my point being, they learned from that and they moved on, but they haven't learned from that from DOA. I don't mind DLC in fighting games. I just want to see more interesting DLCs, right? Give us more stages, give us more characters later on in the game's life cycle. Why announce a new character upon launch? This is something that you should have given to us for free upon launch, right? You should have also given us a path to upgrade to last round, as opposed to delisting it from storefronts. That seems so dumb. I think if Koei wanted to be good, and if they wanted to add to their good graces, because they've been doing such amazing work recently, if they wanted to be the good guys here, if Koei Tecmo wanted to be the good guys here, what they should have done with last round is the following. They should have said, hey, look, if you own base DOA 6, pay $10 or pay $20 and upgrade to last round, which they've done in the past, right? Koei's done that with a lot of games. They've done it with Warriors Orochi. They've done it with Dynasty Warriors. They've done it with a lot of games. Why can't they do that with DOA? Give us a path to upgrade. Allow our DLCs to transfer over. Even if it's the case where, oh, it's a licensing issue and we can't, that's why we had to take off Mai Shiranui and Kula Diamond and reintroduce them as DLCs. Koei sets those prices for DLCs. They could have been like, you know what? Instead of giving it as a DLC, if you owned it, we're going to honor that and we'll take the loss on that. I get it. Koei is a company. They need to make money, but they're a very big company. And I think to sort of increase their, I don't know what the right word is, but like to increase their good favor amongst the community, then they could do things like that. I think if I was a community member, and I am, I would love it if Koei did stuff like that, because then it makes me think that, wow, Koei Tecmo cares about the community, and Dead or Alive is not just an afterthought that, you know, is there to make money every couple of years and whatnot. I think also Koei Tecmo's attitude as a publisher needs to change towards the Dead or Alive series, because the fan base is sort of split in two. You have the more fan service fans, let's say, the people that play Venus Vacation and the Paradise games, and that's fine, that's great. And then you have the fans that are purely down to the fighting game mechanics and maybe want a little bit of fan service, but they don't want, you know, all of that. And they want like at least a bit of a mix, right? But they don't want the game to be soiled because of that sort of gooner. I don't like saying the word, but like that sort of gooner mentality. Now, we're there at the moment. Koei easily could have released Extreme Venus Vacation on all platforms. They keep talking about it. Even when they go to expos and they're like, hey, we got some new DOA merch at this expo. And they're like, and you look at the merch and it says Venus Vacation, copyright Koei Tecmo. And you're like, okay, that's Venus Vacation merch that you're bringing from the Koei Tecmo spot in Japan, and you're selling it as DOA merch. There are two different things, right? Yeah, two different player types, let's say. And I think it's best if Koei actually went out and took a chance and actually published Venus Vacation. I know that there was some concerns back in the day where people were like, no, that's not a good idea because of X, Y, and Z, right? People were not happy with that because it could have ruined Koei's brand, it could have ruined Koei's reputation. And back then the merger it wasn't just happening, but this was like new for them, right? It was their first DOA extreme game in a long time, and they had built a lot around that time. And you could argue keeping it hidden kind of maybe helped them with their relationships between other publishers. Like, imagine what EA would have thought. They might have dropped out of the whole Wild Hearts thing for publishing. Sony as well might have dropped out for a lot of their games, you know, Rise of Ronin, Neo, etc. Microsoft could have even dropped out from Ninja Gaiden 4 purely because of bad publicity. But I think we're beyond bad publicity with Koei now. I kind of feel like treating the fans in the way that they've done with DOA 6 last round is worse than the bad publicity that they will ever get from a game like Dead or Alive Venus Vacation. So I just think give it to the fans. Let the fans of Venus Vacation enjoy Venus Vacation and actually focus on making Dead or Alive a good fighting game. Put some money behind it. Give us updates. Give us rollback. That's something that a lot of people have been asking for. I don't understand why you guys don't do that. Improve the online space, improve the lobbies, improve, you know, character customization. There are so many games out there that have excellent character customization, and we're seeing games getting rebooted like Virtual Fighter, and it's like, oh my god, Virtual Fighter looks amazing. Why can't we get a DOA in that sort of vein? You know, that's what I want. And me and Jacob did an episode where we sort of predicted all of this. We didn't release it because it was like, oh, well, the game's already out. But if you guys want, we'll release that episode so you guys can actually hear our full opinions. We also did talk about what is the future of Dead or Alive. Do we want to see it return as Dead or Alive 7? Do you want to see it return as Dimensions 2 or as maybe a collab style game, or maybe Dead Fantasy? We don't know. Like, one thing that kind of annoyed me is that games like Tekken are getting some really cool collabs, and potentially DOA, because of their DLC practices, we're not getting the best collabs out there. Yes, we are getting King of Fighters and things like that, which I believe SNK is now owned by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is very interesting. But yeah, we're getting collabs like that, but we're not getting collabs that are potentially very meaningful to the series and to the franchise. I imagine that Koei releasing a new Attack on Titan game, we'll probably see Attack on Titan crossovers. We will probably see Fairy Tail crossovers because they obviously did the Fairy Tail game as well. There's a lot of anime collabs that they could do in terms of Shueisha and those kind of Kodansha, I believe, as well. I think is the ones that they work with. And yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Dead or Alive 6 Last Round. Do I think you guys should get it? If you didn't already own Last Round, yeah, maybe get it. But if you own Dead or Alive 6, there's no point in buying Last Round. Keep on playing on the PS4 unless you want to kind of update and play the game on on more modern hardware and modern servers. Do you believe that this game still doesn't have crossplay? That's the one thing that I could never kind of figure out. But yeah, if you play on PS5, you have to stay with more PS5 players, etc., etc. But yeah, buy the game or not, it's up to you. I don't recommend you buy it if you already own base DOA 6. If you don't, then yeah, feel free to buy it. Or feel free to buy a better game if you want to support DOA. DOA 5, last round. Purchase that and purchase a bunch of DLC. They're always on sale, whether it's on Steam or PlayStation or Xbox. Support the game that way. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I want to support DOA 7. Let me buy DOA 6 last round. That's not the way to support, guys. Koei is a big multi-million-dollar company. They don't need us to support their games. What they do need is direction from us, from our wallets. Right? If we don't like something, don't buy it. Don't buy DOA because you want to support. Just simply don't buy it because you want the next DOA to be better. Koei reacts, and most companies react to sales figures. If something is not going well, if the sales aren't good, they will need to change that. It happened with Dynasty Warriors 9. A lot of people love Dynasty Warriors 9 and they look very favorably to it, but it wasn't selling well. And because Dynasty Warriors is Koei Tecmo's biggest franchise, they had to do something about it. And that's why they put a lot of investment and a lot of time in releasing Dynasty Warriors Origins, mind you, because Dynasty Warriors games traditionally don't have much time in development. I believe Origins took the most time and had the biggest budget, right? So they did things right. They made things right with the fans because the fans didn't like Dynasty Warriors 9 and were not supporting the game. They were supporting older games, and that was very clear because Koei did re-release games. They released Warriors Orochi 4 during that time, and also they re-released Dynasty Warriors or Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends for the Switch, and I believe on the PS4. So, like in form of complete edition. So yeah, vote with your wallets, guys. Don't let anyone think that you're supporting DOA 7 by purchasing DOA 6 last round. That doesn't work like that. Anyway, that being said, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let me know what you guys think on Twitter at GALP Podcasts, and also in the comments of this video on YouTube or on Spotify. Let me know. Are you going to pick up DOA 6 last round? Are you going to wait until DOA 7? Let me know. See you guys.